I'm Barbara Cueto. God has sent me to some pretty interesting places to tell people about Jesus and his amazing love. It all started when I wrote this book called From Mafia Princess to God's Princess. That's my story. I know firsthand how easy it is to live in the world and to bend to the pressures of its standards and values. But it seems like it's getting harder and harder for a genuine follower of Christ to live in the world, any place in the world, and be a real Christian.
Hello. I'm so glad you could join me today for a very special edition of Real Christians. One of my favorite passages in the Bible is 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 through 18. And I really like the way the New Living Translation puts it. For our present troubles are small and won't last very long. Yet they produce for us a glory that vastly outweighs them and will last forever. So we don't look at the troubles we can see now. Rather, we fix our gaze on things that cannot be seen. For the things we see now will soon be gone. But the things we cannot see will last forever. That glory is our promise. Something to daily hope for when the trials of this world threaten to undo even the most steadfast Christian. Yet God, in his great love, has shown a few people glimpses of this glory that awaits. These previews of our heavenly home have dramatically changed lives and caused radical conversions even. This is true of the few instances in the Bible where this occurred, and it is certainly true of my guest today, Captain Dale Black, a former airline pilot who is the author of a remarkable book, Flight to Heaven, about his near-fatal plane crash and subsequent celestial experience. One cannot speak to Dale for 5 minutes without realizing that this man is the genuine article, and his life since has been a beautiful gift from God to his kingdom here on earth. I hope you'll stay right here, because I don't think you're going to want to miss a minute of this one.
From Mafia Princess to God's Princess is the story of how God miraculously turned Barbara Cueto's tragic past, including marriage in the Mafia, into a testimony that has transformed and encouraged people the world over. For your tax-exempt gift of $20 or more, we'll send you a signed copy of this book. For your gift of $30 or more, we'll send a CD of Barbara's, which includes Princess, a song that has spoken to women's hearts everywhere. Call the number on your screen now to partner with us and the crucial ministries we support, or go to realchristianstv.org for more info.
A couple of years ago, I was scooting through an airport, and I happened upon a book that I picked up just to read on the flight, but I soon found out I wasn't going to be able to put it down. And it wasn't just because of the astounding content, but also because of the heart behind it, that it just so moved my life. This is the book. It's also going to be up on the screen throughout this interview. And it's by Captain Dale Black, who, when God placed this ministry, Real Christians, on my heart, his was one of the first names on a very short list of people that I felt like really needed to be on the show, because his life was impactful to me in the book. And since I've met him, it's been impactful in my life. Welcome, Dale. I'm so happy that you were able to come all the way from California. Way!
Yeah, what a pleasure. But the impact is two-way. You're having, you and your husband both are having a major impact on my wife and I. We're so pleased to see the faithful church in operation. Praise God through you guys.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, Dale. He's a natural encourager, and I know you're going to be an encouragement and a blessing to this audience.
I speak what I see.
Captain Dale is an former airline pilot. Pilot just always loved piloting planes. And so where we're going to go, we're going to just go to the beginning and short segments, so I hate to just scoot through here so fast, but we have devoted the entire show because there's no way we could have encapsulated it in 10 minutes. You were a pilot. You loved flying from just a boy. You were 19 years old, and tell us what happened.
We were taking off the morning of July 18th, 1969. I was the co-pilot, had just at the last moment switched seats with the the pilot in command, who was now flying in the right seat. 3 of us in the cockpit. No passengers, thank the Lord. Just cargo. We were rolling down the runway, bouncing 100 miles an hour like we would normally do. The weather was clear. The winds were calm. It looked like another perfect day for flying, and I couldn't wait to get in the air again with this beautiful corporate aircraft, a twin-engine, a smaller airplane, not a jet. But we got up to about 100 feet in the air, and something was horribly wrong. We could hear the whine of the engines. The engines were disturbingly out of sync. My worst fears came to reality. I remember the pilot in command, Chuck, yelling and pointing with his left hand. Now, that doesn't happen in the cockpit of an airplane. And he said, let's land in that clear area over there. And I looked up and I saw what looked like a green grass, maybe a field or a pasture, but it's in the city. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I thought, oh my gosh, we're going to crash. And Chuck took over the airplane, grabbed the flight controls, my eyes riveted on his hands and fingers, and he violently wrenched the flight controls, Barbara, all the way to the left and all the way back against his chest. And I knew we were going to crash. I knew the strangest thing. I figured we were going to be in tomorrow's headline news in the Los Angeles News. That's like the last thing that
went through your mind.
Weird as can be. Wow. And I saw what looked like his pink hands turn just ghostly white. And that's the last thing I remembered.
How interesting that those are your last memories are like embedded. And then tell me what happened next. As far as like consciously or just what you know now?
Okay. Strangely and ironically, our airplane left wing had clipped the tops of several tall, gigantic fir trees, about 100 feet tall. We had clipped them and splintered them like kindling.
Oh dear.
It turned the airplane now to go in a slightly different direction, which we then careened head-on into a massive building, about the size of this studio, but 7 stories tall. Ironically, this mausoleum was erected in memory of dead pilots.
Wow.
Famous aviators are interred there in a cemetery, and it's called Portal of the Folded Wings.
Wow.
And we had slammed into this. Later, we found out the official impact speed, Barbara, no exaggeration, was 135 miles per hour.
Wow.
We hit it at 65 feet above the ground.
Oh dear.
The airplane broke into 1,000 or more pieces. All 3 of us pilots were no longer in an airplane because the impact was that high and that intense.
Wow.
So we had this solid stop with the movement, with the 135, and then we stopped.
Oh, wow.
And then after
so
that,
like doubles the impact, right?
Yeah, you're right. And then there was a 7-story fall to the ground.
Dear.
And so, and this is where my life started changing.
And people don't normally survive this brutal of an accident.
No, there's several reasons why, but this was later investigated by the NTSB, who does these kinds of things. They classified it as non-survivable. Barbara, if you were to go and sit there, you and Joe and I and my wife Paula, and we were to sit there, I think you would agree that it would be unsurvivable.
Yeah.
Because it is just intense. That speed, that solid of an object, and then that fall.
Well, we have the pictures that you were gracious enough to share with us that the audience is seeing throughout this. So the Portal of the Folded Wings, the aircraft, which, there's nothing left. It's like a crushed can. Now let's fast forward. You are in the hospital because you're also going to join me for a war room next week, and you're going to share some of that experience. But you went through a period of amnesia for an extended period. It's a certain kind of amnesia that you have like sort of memories of now, but you couldn't remember anything about the crash. You really couldn't remember any of the circumstances, could you?
You mean when I woke up from the coma?
Because you were in a coma for how long?
I was in a coma for 3 days. I woke up on the morning of the 4th day.
Okay.
So 3 full days.
So the doctors are seeing you. They're amazed, I'm sure, that you had survived this, because unfortunately the others didn't.
all three of the pilots impacted the monument at the same speed, at the same place. We all free fell to the ground in the same place. We landed 5 feet from each other. They died of brain trauma, blunt trauma to the brain. And I had the same thing. I had the same problem. And that's why they prepared my parents that I would not live. If I did live, clearly I would likely be a vegetable.
Brain
they would
damaged.
have to find.
They were surprised that there was no internal damage.
Yeah.
Because you had many of your bones broken. In fact, your ankle was crushed.
Yeah,
Tell us about some of the injuries that you did
Well,
suffer.
I broke both ankles, both legs, both knees. The left ankle was destroyed. The back was broken in multiple places. The left ball and socket, the joint of the shoulder had exploded, sending bone through the chest, back, and neck. I've had quite a few cuts and lacerations.
You had a huge chunk of the plane in your head, right?
Yeah,
it destroyed your eye.
My eye was cut in two. It was not completely sliced open, but it was sliced down through the first half of the eye. They were quite sure I wouldn't see normally, obviously.
That you wouldn't see, that you may not walk.
Oh,
and the
for
reason
sure.
I mention
Yeah,
this is
for
because
sure.
you wanted to be a pilot. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what you
Yeah.
dreamed of. You ate, drank, slept, flying planes. And you're seeing when you woke up from your coma and started recalling things in your life, you realized that this may not be a possibility. I remember one thing that you wrote about, that your brother came to see you, and you had not seen how you
I didn't know what I looked like. Yeah.
He went into the bathroom
He
and threw up.
He did.
It was that scary that you were just...
I looked like the son of Frankenstein.
And so
for
this
quite
is
some
somebody
time.
that has the ambition, and this is where God comes in, because our show is, and I do recommend, please, you got to read this book, because it will change your opinion of the miraculous side of God if you don't realize just how miraculous He is. Now, let's fast forward just a little bit. You've come out of the coma. You're starting to have memories, because the point of this book is flight to heaven. And now I know, now that I've met you, I know that you didn't write this book because you came out of a coma, you came out of this tragic accident, and you wanted to just make millions writing a book. Because first of all, you don't really make millions writing a book.
Yeah,
but,
you know that
but,
like I do.
But also because you didn't want the attention. And what I want to explore, we're gonna take a break here in a minute, but I want you to prepare to share with our audience about your flight to heaven, because you had a great privilege. You were able to see something that few people, even in the Bible, have been able to see. I'm going to sing a song that relates to this and kind of prepare our audience a little bit to the idea that this is our home. If you're a Christian, this is your home. So I'm going to take a brief break and let Captain Dale prepare to tell us about this astounding experience he had in heaven. And stay tuned. You don't want to miss this.
Stood with his sign held high. God bless you, please spare what you can. He said, you see, I got no home, not on this earth to call my own, but someday I'll go home. Someday I'll go home. Knows no fear, no hunger and no tears, no sickness and nothing is broken. Oh, oh, Jesus went before me to prepare my home. Someday I'll go there, he'll be waiting for me. Someday I'll go home. Soldier knelt down with his gun held high, wondering if this would be the day. He prayed, Lord, I'm far from home, but I've always known that someday I'll go home. Someday I'll go home, a home that knows no fear, no hunger and no tears, no sickness and nothing is broken. Whoa, whoa. Jesus, you went before me to prepare my home. Someday I'll go there, and you'll be waiting for me. Someday I'll go home. Whoa. Yes, Jesus, you said that you were going before me to prepare a place so that someday I would be there too. The parents held their baby, asking why, but still they trusted their God. They knew they wouldn't see her for a while, but someday they too would go home. Someday I'll go home, a home that knows no fear, no hunger and no tears, no sickness and nothing is broken. Whoa, whoa. Jesus, you went before me to prepare my home. And someday I'll go there. You'll be waiting for me. Someday I'll go home. Someday I'll go home.
Whether you're a slave to destructive behavior or know someone who is, or if you simply desire to go closer to God, 120 Days to Freedom will help you reach your desired level of commitment. For your tax-exempt gift to this ministry of $20 or more, we'll send you a signed copy of Barbara's book. Call the number on your screen now to partner with us and the crucial ministries we support, or go to realchristianstv.org for more info.
We're back again with Captain Dale Black, who is sharing his incredible story about going home. In fact, you went where I'm dying to go someday. And so I don't want to take up any more time. We left off the last segment. You had been in this horrible crash, terrible injuries. Seemed like your piloting days were over.
For sure.
And it was sometime later. You were in a coma for 3 days. You were in the hospital. You know, we'll have to read the book to get a lot of the in-between details,
right.
because I really want to cut to the chase. Sometime later, when you started remembering, and when you came out of the coma, what is incredible is that you knew things were different.
Oh,
you had changed.
Yes.
You cared about people now. For some reason, you had this love for people, this compassion for people, out of nowhere, because you weren't like that.
I felt like I had one eye working, but I didn't know that. I felt like some surgeon had gone in and given me 2 brand new eyes.
Wow.
Because when I woke up, I thought I was looking through 2 perfectly healthy eyes that had been strengthened somehow, that I was looking into new dimensions that I could not see before. They were spiritual, but they seemed physical, and I had no idea why. Wow. But I knew my eyes were different. But I also felt like, this is really true. I felt like someone had taken my old heart out and put a new one in there.
Put a new heart in there, just like the
A
Bible
heart that
says.
worked, a heart the way it was supposed to work, the way
Right.
God had intended it to.
Wow.
But mine had never worked that way before.
Wow.
So these 2 things had happened, so I knew something was different.
You cared about the nurses, for example. You cared that they know about Jesus.
That's all I wanted to do.
And there was a reason for that.
Yeah.
That you didn't remember all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And again, you go into more detail in the book.
Yeah.
But when it started coming to you, what did you experience in your memory?
It started coming to me in my heart. It was so, it was
This
crystal
was sometime
clear.
later.
Yeah, it was. I was asking God, why can't I remember most of my high school, some junior high? Of course, I can't remember my aviation training. I was a licensed pilot.
Yeah, and that's
couldn't
it's
remember.
incredible. And excuse me
remember.
for interrupting, but I wanted to mention that you got out and you started reading the Bible. Your life radically changed from the point, and it wasn't just because you were grateful to be alive, but like you said, your vision had changed. Your heart was new. A heart transplant had occurred, and there are a series of miraculous events. We're cutting right through it. But please tell me what you remembered, Dale, about your experience.
About the heaven experience, I remembered later when it all came and made sense. I told my grandfather everything I had remembered right afterwards, and he cautioned me not to tell it publicly until the Lord makes it crystal clear, and not to commercialize it. He cautioned me, but I remembered, of course, being over my body in the hospital room, in the emergency room, and being moved out of my body down the hallway of the hospital, and actually feeling like I was being pulled. And then the next thing I knew, I was not only out of the body, but out of the hospital room, moving through what appeared to be deep space with spheres of light zooming past. And in the far, far distance was a brilliant light that was getting bigger. But it was a different kind of light than I'd ever seen. It was pure, thick, like a substance light. It's hard to
we can't. That's not something that we can conceive
It's
of.
like a thick, pure substance, jelly, liquid, but it was light. And in the light was love and life. Life and love was in the light. And as it came and touched you, you were being energized and you were being full of God's love. This light was God. The light was clearly God. How did I know that? I knew that here. I noticed I was being escorted by two angelic beings. They didn't look like male or female, but they looked masculine. And they were clearly delighted in escorting my way. I get closer and closer and closer to this light, and I now see gradually a city of gold. And this is described well in the book Flight to Heaven. I'm glad that I can write better than I can speak.
And it's described in heaven. I mean, would you? I mean, in the Bible. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
When you read the Bible, does it mesh with what you saw?
I believe it does. Yeah, I believe it does.
Because I know you talk about that you saw people. You saw, and you describe a lot in the book. You don't describe, though, going in, and we're a little short on time. I wish I could hear every single detail from you. I wish our viewers could, because I've probed you more.
You're right.
But when you went through the gates, and you did go through the gates, what did you see? Because there is one question I want to ask you after this, and it may take you a minute or two to answer.
The music was beyond description. I know a lot of people love music, and your husband is a musician. Music seemed to vibrate in every cell, and it seemed to lift up the spirit in a vertical motion. I said this to my wife, it seemed to lift you up against your ribs, although we have a glorified spiritual being. My body was on earth. But I felt like the music would lift. Music is hard to describe. Someday I want to tell more about it.
And everything is more vibrant.
Yes.
Surely.
Colors gyrated in the air. Colors that the eye cannot see.
And you just can't explain it. I've heard, and I'm not saying that every experience like this is genuine. I'm not, because I'm not sure who would know. But I know you, Dale, now. And I know that you are real. I've talked to your wife, Paula, a beautiful woman, and we've got also pictures of you all together, and you have a wonderful family now. You did go on to fly planes.
It was a miracle when I did.
And there were so many, there are a lot of miracles explained here. I asked Dale here because the story impacted me. but there's a lot more to it, and I don't want to minimalize anything, especially this experience that you had in heaven. But I wanted to make sure that I did not leave this time with you without asking you. You've seen heaven, and I think there's going to be people out there that say, okay, you went to heaven, and I'll believe that. Because it doesn't matter how much detail we go into, there are going to be those that say, oh, come on.
I would be one of them.
Right?
Yeah, I would be one of those.
I think a lot of us
especially in my
would
early years,
until we've seen the miraculous. But what do you say, Dale? That we say seeing is believing, but God says that, that if you believe it, you'll see it.
Yeah, the belief comes first. The result, the seeing, comes after the result.
Dale, please, and if you can, answer this. Now that you've been there, and I believe you have, why would you want to stay here? I mean, I've heard stories where people have had experiences like this, near-death experiences they're called, and they don't want to come back. And please tell me I know you're concise, but...
Barbara, of course, in my natural, I would enjoy being there, but I now know I'm already in eternity. I'm never going to die. Mm-hmm. My body will. My body will be gone. So you and I will never die. Mm-hmm. In fact, no one will die. You're going to either go and spend time with God in heaven, or you're going to go to the other place, which is horrible. And we don't even want to talk about that right now.
We'll do that in the war room.
Yeah. But see, the deal is, I've been impacted by God. I have the love of God in me now, which I didn't have before. And I have this new heart and these new eyes. Right. So my life here on the earth is to help others know that Jesus is real. He really is the Son of God. It's like being on the Titanic. If I was on the Titanic and the ship was going down, and I know there's a handful of lifeboats, I would, instead of getting in the lifeboat myself and sitting there comfortably just waiting, I would want to slap people and grab them and tell them, get into the lifeboat. His name is Jesus. There's lifeboats for everybody. Get your children, get your wife, your husband, get your parents and in-laws. Nobody needs to go to hell. Everybody could go to heaven. It's a free gift. We just need to believe and receive.
Amen.
And that's what we need to do with our lives, I believe, as Christians.
And that's our purpose. Yeah. That is our purpose as real Christians. Get everybody into the lifeboat. And if this segment with you, Dale, thank you so much for coming, Dale. And I hope you'll join us again. You will be here for the War Room next week. If there is a summation, let it be this. It's all about Jesus. Please join us again next time. Dale will be joining me next week. And I thank you so much for being here today. God bless you.
If you need prayer, please email your prayer requests to prayer@realchristianstv.org. If God is calling you to partner with us in our work, call the number on your screen, or you can donate online at realchristianstv.org. God bless you.
Please contact us to order your own copy of today's episode.